Hey guys. Uh, so there's not really any interesting visual that I can give you for the subject of this video, but um I okay. If you've been following World of Warcraft news at all, I just kicked the desk, that's fine. If any of you have been following World of Warcraft news at all, and I know you haven't, I know the people that subscribe to me do not play this game, and I respect and love you. But if you did follow recent months' news, you would know that a lot of changes have been made to the game lately. Changes that are very controversial and interesting to me to talk about. So I kind of wanted to make a video talking about all of the ones that I know about. I know I might miss a couple. Sorry, I'm opening a bottle of I'm opening some Ensure fucking no brands, no free clout for nutrition shake brand. Don't don't remember that name. Anyway, I'm just opening one up because I need to drink it. So, great intro, Brad. So, yeah, I haven't I don't know if I'm going to be completely thorough about this. I pulled up all the relevant WOWHEAD articles that I could, as you can see. Um, or at least the ones that weren't just speculating about things slash like talking about World of Warcraft developer comments that are confirmed and like detailed better in other articles. Wait a second. Sorry, I just thought I forgot one. And I kind of did. We'll get to that when we get to it. Hold on, let me pull it up. Okay, I pulled it up. And these are ordered. We're going to be working backwards. This is most recent up here in the top left, and top right is the least recent, which is around June. No, July. Like the end of July, start of August. So yeah, due to the recent drama of Blizzard, which, I mean, I've discussed this in one of my Where in Warcraft videos. So if you haven't watched that, or if you don't pay attention to WoW news, really nasty sexual assault allegations came out for the company, and a lot of workplace discrimination and harassment, and basically Blizzard's getting fucked up the ass right now with lawsuits, as they should. And so part of the sort of journey to being a decent company that doesn't deserve to burn to the ground, part of that process is now developers going back and changing certain details in the game that they feel don't reflect their shared values. It's a 2-decade-old game. There's going to be a lot of shit like that hasn't aged well, let's say, in the humor department. And furthermore, there's a lot of references to real employees, many of whom were part of the allegations. So obviously those have to go, but also they don't really want real life references in the game anymore if they can help it, which is interesting. I wonder how far they're going to go with that, because there are some real iconic characters that are named in reference to a real life employee. Like Nat Pagel, for instance. Pat Nagel? I always forget which one is the real one and which one's the fisherman in WoW. Anyways, so yeah, that's the basic of what we're going to talk about. And I have all the pages pulled up so that we can go through the actual information together. I'm going to be giving my opinions as we go, but I want to make clear that that's not really the point of this video. I'm going to try and mostly remain impartial. I just haven't really seen a thorough compilation of everything. This leftmost article attempts to do that, but as you can see by all of these other tabs, they didn't exactly do that flawlessly. And there's not really any way for people to tell them that because these are such controversial topics that the comments are locked on every single one. So yeah, that should tell you how things have been going. So first up, references to Alex Afrasiabi removed in World of Warcraft. Alex Afrasiabi was a shit bastard and a danger to his coworkers and himself. He was a big figure in the writing team and like lore department of the game. And I'm glad he's gone. Some examples, and again, this is some examples. They don't list all of them. Because these aren't really... A lot of these are pretty under the table changes. They're not listed in any patch notes or anything. They don't really want publicity about it, which a lot of people have been cynically saying that this is definitely like a PR move, but I don't think that's the case because they would be screaming it, shouting it from the mountaintops. They're like, see how good we're doing? They would want so much attention and praise for it, and they're not doing that, which tells me that this is a more personal process for the devs that they're doing. And I don't think they're doing it for the player base either, because as you'll see when we go along, they change a lot of weird shit that nobody was really offended by. And we're going to discuss possible reasons why they've changed those as we go. Possible and confirmed reasons. There's a mix. So, Frasiabi and Frasiabi's axe are... This entire character has changed. His name is now Ezra Grimm. And you'll find a consistent criticism I have for a lot of these changes is that they don't keep the spirit of the original name. Is that they're like a bit too different while not really working as well as the original. Some of them are fine. Some of them don't fucking matter. Such as the next one. Furor's Compendium of Dragon Slaying is now Nostro's Compendium of Dragon Slaying. That one's fine. Tigul and Furor are both references to characters that a couple of the devs have had in other games. Tigul, I believe, being a reference to a character named Tiggle, as in Tiggle Bitties, which... a lot of Tiggle stuff is still in the game, actually. It's just Furor, Furor, and I don't know much about why this name is that way. I hope it's not, like, a certain German leader that we know. I hope that's not the implication. But in the game, the reference to Furor is Furor. And these two are like business partners, and Furor has been erased from time and space. So that's one that's a bit of an adjustment because references to these two pop up everywhere. They're like WoW characters in and of themselves at this point. And so because their origin came from another game that had to do with not too savory members of the staff, I don't know if Jeff Kaplan was involved in any of this shit, but definitely Alex Afrasiabi was. Because it was, you know, in reference to these real fallible people, they have decided to erase it. So, yeah. Ezra Grimm, not nearly as exotic of a name as Afrasiabi, you know? Alex Afrasiabi's a piece of shit, but he's got a cool last name. You've got to admit that. And unfortunately, they knew that as well, which is why there's so many damn fucking references to him in this game. So anyway, Field Marshal Afrasiabi, this one's just straight up his name, has been replaced by Field Marshal Stonebridge and gender swapped to be a woman now, which, this one's fine. I'm not a fan of word names, but it's World of Warcraft, the king of word names, so you know how it is. Lord Afrastraz at Wormwest Temple is now Lord Devrastraz. That one's also fine. Like, this is a cool dragon name, Devrastraz. Like, that's just cool. Afrastraz doesn't really roll off the tongue very well. That's just very clearly them trying to shoehorn another Alex reference. Pathstalker Cariel in Eversong Woods is now Pathstalker Avacor. That's an interesting change to me because I can't figure out how Cariel was a reference to anything before. Now, Avacor is not really a blood elf name, is it? Cariel is, but Avacor sounds more like it's almost Dranic, you know? It seems like it would be like an Orcish or Arakoa name. Maybe even Draenei, honestly. But nope. Yeah. I don't know. This one's not that bad. I do wonder what the thought process is behind these new names. If they just like came up with one and they were like, all right, put it in there. Or if they really like thought through what these names are and like how to implement them and where and stuff. I would love to know. I hope it's the latter, but I feel like it's a mix of both, probably a little bit leaning towards the former. And that's me assuming things, though, of course. Shard of Afrasa is now Shard of the Split Hooves, which I don't even know what this is. What is this? 0 health per 5 seconds. Man, that number squish really fucked up a lot of classic items, didn't it? It's no longer available even. Where did you get it? Okay, so this was an item that you could only obtain prior to Cataclysm. Thund Splithoof. So this was Old Swamp of Sorrows questing. So that's interesting. I suppose they're changing it in WoW Classic as well, which is something that I didn't consider, but of course they would, you know? Makes sense. They changed the voice actor for Kael'thas Sunstrider because of some similar allegations against him came out, which may or may not be true. That's still hotly debated. It's not really worth debating unless you're involved, in my opinion. I think it was probably just a practical, like, business standpoint to try and distance themselves from that shitstorm. And this was before their own shitstorm came to light, mind you. So it feels a little hypocritical in hindsight. A lot of gamers are mad about that one. I'm like, oh, you didn't. I'm like any of you paid attention to this game's lore before this shit started changing, you know? Anyway. So, underneath, this is an excerpt from a blue post from the devs. While we turn to our team for guidance in our internal work to protect marginalized groups and hold accountable those who threaten them, we also want to take immediate action in Azeroth to remove references that are not appropriate for our world. This work has been underway, and you will be seeing several such changes to both Shadowlands and WoW Classic in the coming days. Well, there it is. It's just spelled out in black and blue right in front of us. I guess I sort of jumped the gun speculating about something that's just obvious. And here's an excerpt from the lawsuit. I'm not going to go into that. As I said, if you want to know more, you can look it up. You can even pause the video and read this. It's pretty grim shit, I will say. The full lawsuit is really a sickening read if you feel you need to be informed and are prepared for that kind of thing. It involves a lot of misogyny, and a woman took her own life. So be prepared for that. But yeah. So pretty obvious changes. Alex Afrasiabi was one of the biggest offenders, or one of the most public offenders, I suppose is the more accurate thing to say. We don't know who the biggest offenders really were. So it makes sense for them to remove all reference to him. That would, you know, directly or inadvertently glorify his memory. Makes sense. The next one, I mean, all of these are controversial. I can't say that before every single one. In one of the Cataclysm quests in Silverpine Forest, then War Chief Garrosh Hellscream rolls up into town for a little demonstration of Sylvanas' new necromancy powers, and he is disgusted. And during the dialogue, an exchange is had as follows. Have you given any thought to what this means, Sylvanas? What difference is there between you and the Lich King now? To which she replies, Isn't it obvious, War Chief? I serve the Horde. And I remember at this point, I remember there being like a little emote where she like mockingly salutes him. And then, in the original text, he replies, Watch your clever mouth, bitch. And it no longer says that. They cut the line before he says bitch. Conveniently, he like takes a breath before he says it, so it was probably pretty easy to edit. Now, it's very fascinating this one's a much more subjective thing, because bitch isn't necessarily the worst or most sexist word you could say. It's obviously got its own baggage, but, like, it's mostly a context-dependent type of baggage. Hearing it come out of big muscle man, genocide, masculine fella, Garrosh Hellscream, does leave a bit of an uneasy feeling about that specific line and how it was written. I'll give them that. I've always... Hold on. Nice. I dunked it into my trash can. I will not be sipping for the remainder of this video. So, I'll save my thoughts till after we read through the rationale. So, Steve Denuser, personally has responded, affirming that it was, like, an intentional change and that he was, like, involved in it. He asserts that Garrosh's point of view comes across just fine after the edit, because the original poster that's like, Blizzard, you cowards, why'd you remove the word bitch from his dialogue, asserts that, you know, without that extra punch, the disgust and disrespect in his, like, in his response doesn't really come through as well. I think that only applies if you know that the bitch used to be there. Do you know what I mean? I think if you look at it, the sentence might seem a little weird. I feel like you could just, like... I feel like it was better served to, like, replace the word rather than just remove it. I know that it requires voice acting payment to re-record that line of, like, a 10-year-old quest, but, I mean, hey, they've been pretty dedicated in the past. Like I said, they recorded all of Kael'thas's lines and replaced every single one, so... that said, if they replaced it with, like, wretch or witch or some shit, I feel like that would probably flow better in terms of dialogue. But I do agree, though, that while the word bitch isn't necessarily out of character for Garrosh to say, or it's not really too modern either. I mean, bitch has been a word for centuries, but the fact that it's used so few times in the game, I think, sort of highlights this exchange as out of the ordinary. And I remember even when I was, like, 11 or 12 playing Cataclysm for the first time in this zone, when I heard that, my, like, jaw dropped. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, he did not just call my girl that. And to be fair, in hindsight, she was being kind of bitchy in this exchange. But like I said, leaves a weird taste in your mouth to hear Garrosh saying it, you know? Even back then, I picked that up. I felt that, like, weird... I was, like, really uncomfortable with that exchange. And honestly, the fact that it stood out so much to me made it really memorable. And I kind of look back on that aspect of it fondly, but, like, it's not integral to the conversation or anything. People are blowing this out of proportion. I will say... Oh, I didn't have to do all that silly subpar voice acting. We could have just heard it.
What now?
Where? Hold on. I don't have headphones on. I didn't expect to actually have to hear audio.
Where is that ogre-headed buffoon? Ah,
I just had to check my
speak
audio.
of the devil.
This better be important, Sylvanas.
So
Okay.
glad you could make it. Valkyr.
Okay.
Very well. As a race, now show the war chief.
you have done here, Sylvanas. It goes against the laws of nature.
There we go.
Disgusting is the only word I have to describe it.
War Chief, without these new Forsaken, my people would die out. Our hold upon Gilneas and Northern Lordaeron would crumble.
Have you given any thought to what this means, Sylvanas? What difference is there between you and the Lich King now?
Isn't it obvious, War Chief?
Yep, there's her
I
little
serve
salute.
the Horde.
Watch your clever mouth, bitch. Chromash, you stay behind and make sure the Banshee Queen is well guarded.
Yeah, so that's the actual exchange. You can see what I mean, though, right? There's venom in his voice when he says it, which makes sense given the topic of their exchange. Interestingly, it isn't the only such change. However, Godfrey's similar insult in Shadowfang Keep's also been edited. Man, that's a double bitch in Silverpine Forest. I will say, this person is like, but what about the word being used by Varian in the comic, or Garrosh in the TOW novel? Can these bits be removed for the next reprints? It would also be good to remove Sylvanas' son of a bitch bit from Warcraft 3. And I just think that this is completely blowing it out of proportion. Like, this person's right in the fact that, like, you know, bitch isn't that bad, honestly. But it's about the intent. It's like when you're writing it, I feel like the writers at the time really wanted to put Sylvanas in her place, and that's why they were using that word a lot. I think comparing that to Sylvanas' "you son of a bitch" part is really blowing it out of proportion, though. That's baby rage gamer moment right there, is from this guy. Like, that's not at all equivalent, and you know it. Now, let's go to Steve's thread explaining why he made this decision. A team member sent feedback that he enjoyed playing the game with his kid, but when they encountered Garrosh's line, it stuck out from other language in the game. Several of us discussed the feedback, and decided to make a change. I can understand that many people liked the scene as it was. It was a memorable line of VO, no question. But at the end of the day, we felt we gained more from removing it than from keeping it. Needless to say, you're free to disagree. Whatever your feelings, please understand there was no sinister motivation behind the change. It was just people trying to make the game a little better for future generations. Now, I'm okay with him removing, and I say him, like he said, it was a team decision. I'm okay with them removing this word from the dialogue. I will say, though, it's kind of a weird reason they gave, right? Like, for a game that's, like, rated for its language and, like, you know, references to alcohol and sex. Like, it's rated T for teen for a reason. So it's weird to use the think of the children kind of line. I mean, I literally gave you an anecdote from when I was a child and I was playing this game, and I was, you know, shocked by it, but, like, I don't think that fucked me up or anything. And besides, I feel like it's not the game's fault that the parent ignored the rating. But again, that's just the one thing that Steve here has, like, mentioned. And I know that, you know, there are some obvious, like, sexist reasons why they wanted it gone. I do kind of like that bitch Sylvanas sent you too, did she? Like, damn, Godfrey, I don't even mind killing you right now. I will say, though, again, I think the only reason that it's worse without the bitch in Godfrey's case is that it shows that he hates her. Whereas it's a bit more neutral here. Sylvanas sent you too, did she? He's just saying her name instead of, oh, that fucking hag Sylvanas, or like, oh, that damned Banshee Queen, or, you know what I mean? Like, she's an undead monstrosity who's hunting him and also made him an undead monstrosity. So, like, I feel like it's weird for him not to insult her. Even if bitch isn't used, I feel like he should be insulting her right here in this line. Of course, that would require voice acting. Would it? I don't think it would. I think this is just a text exchange, actually. Yeah. I feel like bitch is just like a thing where you decide if you're cool with using it, and you decide if you're cool with hearing it. And if everyone's not on the same page with that, then it's a really tricky situation. Is this OMF? No, okay. This was OMFG Blondie for a second. War Tank Gaming. Garrosh calls Sylvanas a bitch. I wonder when this was, like, when was this? 2014, yeah. Look at these comments. A lot of butthurt men. Garrosh was a good guy. No, the fuck he wasn't. That's the point. He could have been a good guy, but he wasn't. That was the point. People always see the potential for good in Garrosh and, like, use that as an excuse to be like, oh, he had good things at heart. And that's just not true. Somebody being potentially good is not the same as them being currently good. He went down a bad path and then refused to turn back because of his pride. That makes him a bad dude. Sorry. And his reasons were not noble. It was for racial supremacy. He wanted to make the Horde strong, and in that mind, that meant orcs only. And that's not a good guy. So sorry. I don't buy the whole Garrosh was a good guy, he was right bullshit. Next, more references to former employees Jesse McCree, Louis Barriga, and Jonathan LeCraft removed from WoW. Now, Jesse McCree was part of the allegations. He was in one of the photos taken of a lot of employees in a certain room that they called the Cosby Room. Fill in the blanks on your own. I don't know anything about these two. I know Louis Barriga stepped down as lead for Diablo 4 director. I know nothing about Jonathan LeCraft. I have no clue who this guy is, honestly. I had no idea he even had references in the game. But yeah, their Overwatch hero McCree was a Jesse McCree thing. He's going to be renamed sometime. I don't know what they're going to do for him. I don't think anything's going to satisfy the fan base. Hopefully it's a good name, though. Because as I said, a lot of these names they're replacing it with don't really carry the same, like, intention as the originals. And sometimes it's just a dumb reference, but sometimes it's like a masked reference that can turn into a very cool lore character. And those ones, I think, are the ones that should be treated with a lot of care. So here's some of the changes here. The inscription, signed by the author Lawrence E. Kraft in a steamy romance novel, Stormy Seas, has changed to signed by the author Noah Scribeson. And let me tell you, Noah Scribeson is the worst fucking pen name I have ever heard. Like, sure, get the Lawrence E. Kraft shit out of there, but like, Noah Scribeson? Scribeson? You could just name him Author Penhaver. Author Bookman. Writer Pencil. Like, you know what I mean? And this next one's really bad too. All of the Blood Mist Isle quest rewards referencing Gessera of Makari have been changed. So, Gessera of Makari is obviously a Jesse McCree reference. He has been changed to Matt Parm. What the hell is Matt Parm? And also, the fact that he's not Matt Parm of... Well, they replaced Makari's name too, like the zone. But we'll get there when we get there. The fact that he's not Matt Parm of, you know, Makari equivalent, it kind of removes the weight of the fact that you see Matt Parm in Makari when you finally go there. And it's like, oh shit, I remember this guy from Blood Mist Isle 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It just, what the fuck is Matt Parm? Mott Parm? What is that? What does Matt Parm even mean? That doesn't even sound like a Draenei name. That doesn't sound like an anything name. The fuck is a Matt Parm? At least Makari kind of sounds cool, although, you know, before Legion, it was just, like, commonly pronounced Makari. Like McCree, but, like, worse. I think there was, like, a McAfee security suite joke in one of those quests. But Marshall McCree has been renamed to Marshall Patterson. That's fine. McCree's... Humans are boring, and that's... It's the same thing as, like, the stone wall. Stone grave. Graben. What the hell was that Marshall named? Stonebridge? Stone Zone? Bingus? Anyway. Yeah, Marshall Patterson, like, whatever. Patterson's sparring gloves, McCree's sparring gloves. Yeah. That's a fine change. Now, all of these are fine changes. I just think some of them should have been... All of these, like, references to employees should be changed. But I think what they're being changed to is really dumb in a lot of cases. Jessup's report from the request One More Thing. Jessup McCree, which does suck because that's just a good name for a dwarf. That's just like, that's like the only like Jesse McCree thing that you could really get away with besides Makari. Jessera. Because, let's be honest, Gessera isn't really a Draenei name either. I think they should change that. But Matt Parm? I can't keep talking about Matt Parm. I'll go crazy. We gotta move on from Matt Parm. Jessup McCree has been renamed to Carmarn Pale Ale. This one's another one where it's like, it's a shame Jesse McCree is a fucking bastard, but also it's even more of a shame that they went with Carmarn. What the hell name is that? Did they just like click randomized on their like own name generator in the character creation screen to do these? If so, it would make sense. But there's no excuse for Noah Scribeson. But why would they go with Matt Parm? I'm doing it again. Why would they go with Carmarn? Torturer Lecraft from the Northrend quest Torture the Torturer has been renamed to Torturer Alphonse. I think this is a good one. I want it to be known that I think some of these are really good changes. Torturer Alphonse is a much better name than Torturer Lecraft. That seems really, like, it seems really forced. That's one of those, like, forced references to an employee. Summon Crusader Lecraft spell from Leave No One Behind has been renamed to Summon Crusade Jonathan. Crusader Jonathan. They had 2 Lecrafts? They had 2 fucking Lecrafts? Both of them Crusaders from the Scarlet and Argent Crusades in the same damn fucking continent? That one was dumb. Crusader Jonathan, huh? Lamouf, Josephine, and Jonathan. Well, that just feels not balanced. Why is there 2 J's and 1 L? Josephine's fine, but... Wait. Jonathan? That's still a reference to Jonathan Lecraft. Hold on. I know he doesn't have a monopoly on the name Jonathan, but, like, you see where I'm confused, right? Okay. Seems to be a work in progress at the time of writing. There's Matt Parm. I'm yawning. I'm yawny. This was written on the 1st of September. Do you remember? So this last paragraph is outdated. We're going to move on to another big one that's very much related. The change of the WoW zone Makari, renamed to Eridath. Not a week later. And let me just tell you, Eridath is just... it's a very boring name. I know it's kind of weird that Makari was like a reference to a guy, and it turned out to be like the capital of Argus. But like... let's talk about the name Eridath. The original name for the Draenei's, like, people was Eridar. But they renamed themselves during their exodus from the Burning Legion, and those that joined the Legion retained the name Eridar. So now it's, you know, widely known as a way to reference a certain classification of demon that the Draenei used to be, you know, associated with. Naming your city Eridath is kind of like if the capital of Earth was named Human Town. Do you understand where I'm coming from here? It's too obvious. Krokun? That's a good fucking name. Krokun is a fucking banger name. Makari. Makari, even though its origins are a little weird, it still carries that, like, fascinating, because, like, this is an entire fucking different world whose history we only know the barest minimum of. And so it makes sense that their capital city would be named something that we wouldn't automatically associate with their language, such as Makari. It has significance in history to them, but not to us, because we live on a different planet. Naming your city Eridath is, like, too easy. If the player knows why the developer chose the name Eridath, then it is not, like, an immersive name. Do you know what I mean? This is the Draenei equivalent of Stormwind City. You just put words together. You just fucking took a cool name, Eridar, and you made it a city, Eridath. That's like Orgrimmar. You know, this is an orc naming convention that you've done for the Draenei. And it works for the other races, but, like, Draenei have never really had this problem because they're so otherworldly and exotic. Eridath. I guess I gotta get used to that, but man, it sucks. It doesn't even suck. If it was originally Eridath, it would have been fine. But like I said, we've already had the better option. And there could have been so many other better options that they could have chosen that would have been better than Eridath, Human Town. Just fucking... Welcome to Manton. Welcome to Primatia. Like, it just takes you out of it. My suspension of disbelief doesn't go that far. So, fuck Jesse McCree, though, for making them do this with his shitty behavior. This is another one that was really controversial. This was more controversial than McCree. I just said McCree. Makari. See, now they've got me associating the two together. I'd never even associated them before. I just burped. I'm so sorry. Vanilla wall paintings, HD updated and desexualized in patch 9.1.5. And as you can see, the changes are dire. So, see, I've heard this described as going from, like, a sexy Instagram photo to, like, a LinkedIn profile. And that makes sense. The art's still good. I don't really care about the wardrobe difference. This isn't a... I don't think this is as big a deal as people think it is. This one is really funny to me. They just replaced her with a bowl of fruit. They were like, we can't think of any way to not sexualize this. We gotta get rid of it. And that cracks me up so fucking much. Now, these two women... They are... You know, the Lounging Lady's a reference to a real-life work of art. Or, you know, a style of painting. What the fuck? Why are they... Get out of there. Why are they advertising me? No one cares if you're offended. That's not the point of this fucking video. So, this article goes on to talk about how it's similar to desexualization efforts such as Jaina's profile portrait in Hearthstone, which is so fucking funny that people got mad about this because look at this. You don't even see the difference right away. Like, she's still extremely sexualized in this picture. Are you kidding me? They just made it less bad. Like, these are the same image to me. As they say down here, like the aforementioned Garrosh and Sylvanas dialogue, it feels low level enough that someone just wanted to change it for their own reason. And that's something to consider. A lot of people are like, oh, they're doing it for the SJWs. As I said, nobody was offended by these paintings originally. What I think is the case is that A, the one person in the universe that was offended by it is on the dev team, or B, there's some sort of backstory within the work culture of the development team that led to them being uncomfortable with keeping these paintings. And this is something that Taliesin from the Taliesin and Evitel show has brought up, the possibility of these seemingly random changes to be associated with some sort of work experience or some sort of frequent line of dialogue between coworkers that has made it not the correct move to keep it in the game. You know, it's not really useful to like make up scenarios and get mad about them, but like, for an example, for all we know, this woman could have been like drawn based off of somebody in real life, you know? And, you know, considering how art assets are made, that's very likely, actually. And so, if something like this, you know, this window into her shirt is something that has your face plastered on it, or something that was based on your face, then you would be very uncomfortable having it in the game too. Now, I don't know if that's true. That's just something I made up. But I think it is good to keep in mind that there probably is a reason for a lot of this stuff that we don't know about. And by a lot of this stuff, I mean a lot of this stuff moving forward. Everything we've covered from, you know, changing names of developers and references to them. All of that is like, you kind of get where they're coming from intrinsically. Stuff like this, however, is where it starts to kind of fall apart and you're like, what's going on here? What's going on behind the scenes? And so this is the type of shit that made me so interested in wanting to talk about this. So, yeah. A lot of people are worried that this is a slippery slope. But I don't think they're looking to desexualize the game. I think they're looking to desexualize certain aspects of the game that were very clearly made for male gaze eye candy. Do you know what I mean? Even if this wasn't based off of a real person who it was making uncomfortable. If this was just a made up pair of women that was just designed to be ogled at from the start, then I think that's worth a removal or change as well. If she gotta be fruit, then that's okay. I will say, some of the places these paintings show up, such as Karazhan, they're a little more tasteful than a place like that really deserves. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Medivh was a fuckboy, okay? He had paintings of, like, nude women strewn up around his castle. He had 100 different, like, you know, escorts and concubines and shit. He was a party animal. That was kind of his whole personality that was, explored in the Karazhan raid. And so, I don't know. I don't know if he's the kind of guy to have some fruit on his wall. We'll come back to Medivh later, though. Don't you worry. For now, we're going to take a little detour into emotes. Negative emotes changed and removed. Several emotes added in patch 915. So, this thing about the love rocket we'll get to, because it's in the big list. So, several emotes have been adjusted. Drool, cough, burp, fart, whistle, spit, and moon no longer target a player. You can use them against a player, but they don't have different text when they target a player. For instance, if you targeted someone and then did /burp, you burp rudely in blank's face, or blank burps rudely in your face, etc. They no longer have that. Now, pounce and groan still have special text when targeting a player, but they've been adjusted. For instance, looks at you and groans, and they added at the end, in pain. Now, you might be thinking, why would that makes it more negative? They don't want somebody to use this to sexually harass other players, which is fair. You cannot moan at somebody anymore. Kick, stink, shake, and moan have been removed. Moans suggestively, drops his trousers and moons you, shakes their rear, whistles at you, smells you. Wow, someone stinks. Kicks you, kicks at you. The kick one, I think, should not be in the game. I totally agree with them on that, because there's been so many fucking assholes that, like, if you do anything, they'll do this emote to you to try and get you kicked from the group. And people go with, like, total groupthink brain, and as soon as somebody suggests someone gets kicked, then they're like, it's easier if I don't put up a fight, and they just kick you anyway, even if you haven't done anything. Horrific game community, by the way. World of Warcraft is, like, one of the worst gaming communities that I could have grown up being a part of. And I still resent them to it this day. The pounce emote. You pounce, rather than on top of somebody, you pounce towards them. It's a little bit more furry, a little bit less tackle glomp. And yes, somehow those things can be simultaneous. 4 new emotes have been added, however. To replace kick, stink, shake, and moan, huzzah, magnificent, impressed, and wince. So not all of them are positive. They're not trying to force that. I think at some point they should. I think the community needs to fucking grow up a little bit. You wince sympathetically. That looked like it hurt. Cheers boisterously, huzzah. Claps vigorously for you, clearly impressed. Nods approvingly at you, magnificent job. I keep hiccuping and shit tonight, I'm so sorry. So, yeah. This is part of an emote purge that they've been doing. It started with them removing /spit. They removed that from actually Burning Crusade Classic before the base game, actually. Because people were slash spitting at people who got the store mount that they introduced to Burning Crusade, which, let it be known, I do not fucking approve of what they're doing to Burning Crusade. I think the level boost and the paid content is going to... It already killed it. Like, WoW Classic and WoW Burning Crusade Classic are both dead games right now. So let it be known that I don't agree with that. But they didn't like the idea of people being targeted and harassed by the entire community. So they removed the... They removed it. The emote. And also let it be known that you can still do this. It just takes a little bit more work. If you type in /me, it allows you to create your own custom emote starting with your player name. So /me puts your player name in the slot. For instance, my main character's name is Kubo. And so if I typed in /me spits at a player, then it would be like Kubo spits at a player. Like, you can make your own emote. They just don't want it built into the game anymore. They want to make it a little bit more inconvenient for you to harass people, which I don't think is a bad thing. There have been a couple of weird things that they've changed that actually I don't have any articles on. Like, they changed blacklist to blocklist, which is an interesting change that kind of calls into question how they're making these decisions. I really don't know. I really don't know what that's all about. But there have been a couple of instances where they've been banning words a lot more strictly lately, just trying to get the community to fucking chill for once. And the only thing I'm worried about, I don't care if people get banned for life for saying the N-word. I think they should. But what I don't want is for this to progress into unintentional homophobia, because that's where Blizzard has been in the past. There was this guild called, like, hold on. Yeah, the guild named Gay Boys. They had their name removed and changed to Guild ZFXPK. And they were forced to change their name because fellow players reported your in-game name as inappropriate multiple times. And here comes my fear of them ramping up those efforts and giving out harsher punishments for player-reported inappropriate behavior, because for a lot of people, being gay or even indicating that you like the same gender is not appropriate. And so whenever censorship ramps up on, like, a social media site or something to crack down on, like, you know, either sexual content or just general inappropriate conduct, gay people always get the fucking shaft. Every single time. Gay communities suffer. And so I'm not usually a slippery slope kind of guy, because I don't think that argument applies as frequently as fucking Bitcoin miners that like being racist want you to think. But I think in this case, it definitely is a slippery slope, and I'm very anxiously anticipating what the next steps are going to be for this game. in terms of player interactions. Now, 2 days ago, Blizzard, this is the one that I forgot initially. Blizzard has put out a statement on their rationale for updating innuendo references in World of Warcraft, and they've revealed something that's very interesting to me. Oh. Actually, let's do this one first, because I totally forgot about this. So, in Karazhan, along with the emote stuff, it changes older parts of the game, targeting trash mobs inside the original Burning Crusade version of Karazhan. Several enemies that only had female models have been updated to include male versions with new or gender-neutral names. So, originally all ladies. Now it's like 50-50. So the change, and this is all of the bedrooms in the hallway leading up to the Maiden of Virtue, which is basically the cockblock machine that was installed in Medivh's house because he was partying too hard. So these party goers, most of which were female, and let's call them what they are. They're whores, right? Like, that's what they're supposed to be. They're women of the night. They've been changed. The Wanton Hostess has been renamed Wanton Host, and now transforms into a gender-neutral wraith instead of a banshee. So I don't know if that means that before they turn into a wraith, they can be either gender, or what. The Night Mistress is unchanged, but there's now a male version called the Night Lord as well. The Concubine has been split into 2 mobs. Females are now called the Zealous Paramour, and will continue to transform into a succubus, while the males are Zealous Consorts, and will now become a satyr. Ironically, the Throne of Thunder twin consorts were renamed Twin Empyreans, though these mobs still retain the title of consort, which is another one that is fascinating. Because these... Okay, I can't ignore the Big Love Rocket thing anymore, I guess. They changed the Big Love Rocket because it was a penis joke. And that's a weird one as well. The weirder one is the twin consorts being changed to Twin Empyreans. Because consort is, like... Prince Philip was Queen Elizabeth's consort. It's not an inherently sexual or demeaning position. So, for them to make this change, it's sort of... There are 2 options. Either A, it's just some office history that we don't know about, and we should respect that. Or it's a blacklist kind of thing, where someone who just didn't know the definition of the word assumed the definition of the word, and they changed it based on that rather than the truth. And yeah, this is an interesting one. I would love to hear a developer talk about this change. The X-45 Heartbreaker is the new name for the Big Love Rocket. The Big Love Rocket was very obviously a dick joke. The X-45 Heartbreaker it's fine. They updated the icon to make it less phallic and more like the actual mount, which is fine. That makes sense too. I don't think dick jokes are misogynist. I'm just going to come out and say that. I think unless, once again, there's some workplace history that we don't know about, I think unless that is the case, this was not our... What the fuck are these ads, man? And her partner. They're still thinking, why do I care? Why do I care about AOC's love life? Anyway, I'm looking to refinance a home. I'm getting distracted again. I don't think dick jokes are inherently misogynist. I think the celebration and making fun of male genitalia is like an honored pastime. I don't think that should be scrubbed clean out of a game unless, of course, you know, there's like an actual reason why anyone on the dev team would be like very uncomfortable with keeping this in the game. In which case, I understand. You don't have to tell us any personal details. It would just be nice to know the reason. Like, even a vague one is like all I need, okay, to decide whether or not to support this. The big love rocket is gone. It's no more. Heartbreaker only. There are some achievement names that have been changed, such as Bros Before Ho Ho Ho's has been changed to Holiday Bromance. That one, I get. You know? Literally calling women hoes and implying that men are better than them. Like, right, Bros Before Hoes is like... Hold on. Needed water. Bros Before Hoes is like, you know, very clearly like a frat boy kind of saying. I say shit like that all the time. I'm not free from criticism, but, you know, I understand why it's removed. I'm not bragging about me saying it. I just... Eventually I'm gonna say some shit like that as a joke, and I don't want to seem hypocritical when I criticize something like this, okay? Now, this next one is tragic. My sack is gigantique has been renamed My Storage is Gigantique. And that is one that definitely does not at all even kind of respect the original intent of the joke. Not only is saying that your sack is gigantique not misogynist at all, it's not even like exclusory or hostile to women. And correct me if I'm wrong when I say any of this stuff, by the way, because I'm not a woman. So I don't actually know. But, like, I don't see any reason why that would create a hostile environment for women to play in, you know? Like I said, making jokes about the penis and balls are like an honored pastime in human tradition. We've been doing this since ancient times, since we were cave people. Since the Roman Empire, we were making dick jokes, okay? Like, that's a beautiful human experience. I don't think that's inherently wrong. If you are going to change it, though, I don't know, maybe bag would be better. Storage. My storage is gigantique. That almost makes it more lewd. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Your storage? Your storage? Ew. Like, what? Ew. That, that specifically, like, targets the nads or something, in my opinion. Like the production facility, you know? My storage. Storage of what? Your sperm? Is this supposed to make it gender neutral? Or like is a uterus the storage as well? I don't get this one. I don't understand it at all. It doesn't flow off the tongue well, and I have no fucking clue why they made the change. Both ethically and also linguistically, I have no fucking clue what's going on here. None of the others are relevant to the conversation at hand, so we're not going to go into that. So, yeah. The change within Karazhan is a good one. This is another one that I fully support. This isn't one that I don't support, like Makari or like Eridath, rather, or fucking Karmarn, or goddamn fucking Noah Scribeson and Matt Parm. Christ, Matt Parm is baffling. It knocks you on your ass thinking about it. It's not one that I outright reject like those, and it's not one where I think could have used a bit more work, but you know, like it could have used a bit more thought put into it, but it's very situational whether it would be, you know, weird or not to replace it, and such as the paintings. I love this change though. It's kind of weird to just kill sexual women, especially as frequently as you do in this raid. So, yeah. I will say, World of Warcraft is bereft of sexy men. Blood Elves are the closest they've ever gotten to that, and every day they fight tooth and nail to make them as weird and blocky as the other males. But like, you're never going to make this human male attractive. I'm sorry. That's the weirdest piece of meat that I've ever seen. Put an orc in here, then we'll talk. Well, I've just exposed myself a little bit. And I was joking, for the record. That wouldn't make sense in the lore. It would have to be Alliance specific. Old Alliance, I'm telling you. Which is why the elves are here. Anyway, Karazhan's a good change. Now, they have this whole thing talking about their rationale. Now, they point out that internal feedback is the source of these changes for the in-game content that's inconsistent with their goal of building an inclusive and welcoming game world. We recognize that these updates will amount to very few total changes overall. Nonetheless, we believe they're worthwhile. World of Warcraft is meant to evolve over time and every day. New players from every walk of life and every corner of the world experience our in-game content for the very first time. As a team, we want the world they see to stand as an expression of our talents and principles. Goofy jokes and occasional mature innuendos are part of WoW, and probably always will be. Still, we want to remain mindful of whether certain elements of that world are welcoming to all players. In short, we want our jokes to be inclusive and not punch down. There can be circumstances that complicate our decision-making. For example, some of the arts that populates our world is often reused throughout the game. To be certain that we don't have any instances which this art appears in a way that is not respectful, such as being a pinup in Medivh's Dude Castle, I suppose. In some cases, we might opt to replace specific elements entirely, such as fruit. I really think the fruit painting is so funny, though. They turned that woman into a fruit. Gay rights. It's important to us that we ensure Azeroth is the best place it can be for everyone, and we'll continue to improve our processes for when it comes to this kind of decision making. We also want players to be able to express themselves through their characters, so we don't intend to change existing player looks or cosmetics. They're like, please stop bitching about transmog and player models. You know we're not going to tone down that sexualization. You know those women are going to be sex objects forever. Don't even try it. Instead, we want to ensure that we're offering a wide range of options for players to represent themselves, so they're trying to expand the options, not reduce them. This work is ongoing alongside our development of new content and features. You're going to see a lot more of it soon, and in updates to come, and where applicable in WoW Classic as well. That intrigues me. I have no clue what that means. An example of an improvement is the creation of an incubus demon, which we can add to places where succubus models currently appear. We're also planning to make the incubus a glyphable option for warlocks when they summon that classification of demon. Now, here's the real meat of this fucking article. I can't wait for the incubus demon. If he's not hot, I'm going to be so sad. But because I know World of Warcraft loves their ugly men. God damn what they've done to Anduin. But, like, bro, they fucked you up. He's cute in the cutscene for Battle for Azeroth, though. I wish that was more the style that they went for, rather than making him look like Varian Rin, the worst model in the game. Anyway, this is a thing that I'm actually really excited for. Again, another change that I'm all in for. Now, keep in mind this pair of sentences. This triplet of sentences. Goofy jokes and occasional mature innuendos are part of WoW, and probably always will be. That probably is doing some lifting. Still, we want to remain mindful of whether certain elements of that world are welcoming to all players. In short, we want our jokes to be inclusive and not punch down. I think that's a great philosophy. I don't know if they're following it. We've already seen a couple of instances of things that they've removed that don't make sense in this framework. And I wish they would just be straight with us, for once. I wish they would just tell us, hey, this references something fucked up that happened in the office. We are going to remove it for that reason. But I know for a fact that so many of the employees are wrapped up in these NDAs, and they literally can't legally communicate with the fan base. And that's a Blizzard problem. That's not the devs. I do really wish that they would were just able to talk to us about it, though. Because every time they dodge the question on why they did something, it makes them look more suspicious. And it gives, motherfuckers like Asmongold. I feel like I should censor myself when I say his name, or he's gonna, come after me. People, that have fan bases that really get riled up over this kind of thing because they think they're right about everything. It gives them fuel to think that everybody is trying to persecute them and trying to censor their game, and gamers are oppressed, and I'm the customer, you should treat me like a king, and all that bullshit, when really the conversation should be, how do we make this the best piece of art that it can be? Because video games are art, right? And the changes that are being made have nothing to do with the gameplay. And so I believe it should be made from a standpoint of an artist and a story writer and, you know, a world builder rather than, you know, rule of cool, titties are rule, you know? So, references and innuendos changed or removed throughout World of Warcraft. Again, this is a very long... I say very long, it's not that long. And we've already covered some of the things on the list, so it's not even like super necessary to warn you about it. So the Den of Mortal Delights, much like Karazhan, this is very clearly a brothel section of a raid in the Black Temple. They really were going for that in the Burning Crusade. #1 app for deer hunters, Hunt Wise. Oh. That little feller's dead. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. What did he ever do to you? He had a family. Ugh. Please get off of my video. Okay, so Karazhan's been updated to include male versions of many mob types. Similar changes have been made to the Black Temple, the Den of Mortal Delights section. The harem is almost entirely populated by female courtesans and concubines, but many now include male versions as well. Medivh and Illidan, bisexual kings. The part that baffles... I think that's a great change. The part that baffles me is several of the NPCs have been renamed to appear somewhat less licentious. While changes do not eradicate the theme entirely, it does change the atmosphere. No longer are the women all working courtesans enthralling the few men found within the area. The temple concubine is now the gender-neutral temple acolyte. Fair enough. Charming courtesan is now the gender-neutral charming patron. Spellbound attendant, where previously one of the only male models in the den, is now ardent host. Enslaved servant, one of the other males, is now called devoted steward. So the males are there much more willingly now. They're not really like in a trance of sexual lust or anything now. Now they're just like, yeah, we like being here. I like to be a sexy little servant boy. Some of the demons located within the den and on the way to Mother Sharaz have also been renamed, though rather than aiming for inclusivity, the changes appear to be for the sake of consistency. All succubi are priestesses and all Shivara are mistresses. The Sister of Pleasure and the Sister of Pain are now the priestesses of Delight and Torment. See, I don't know if that's very necessary. Like I said, that, to me, really reads as them trying to distance this very clear brothel from its sexual themes, which doesn't really make sense to me. I don't understand why that's necessary. The Mistress of Pleasure and Pain, that's like very clearly just like a BDSM reference. Now, Priestess of Delight and Dementia becoming Mistress of Woe and Mistress of Torment. Oh my god, they were used Torment twice? That's... It's not great. I do understand why they didn't want dementia to be used so flippantly. I mean, that's like just like a real brain condition, so I get that. But this whole pleasure, pain, delight, dementia becoming delight, torment, woe, torment, it completely cans the alliteration of pleasure, pain, delight, dementia, right? Pleasure and pain, it completely erases any of the sexual hints of the zone. Or at least, you know, more overt tones. And I just don't understand why. I don't understand why that's necessary. There's like a video of the area, but I don't think that's necessary. This one's real tragic. Sons of Hodir. The all-male faction of ICE is not being made more diverse, but many of the quests that players may remember grinding day in and out have been renamed to avoid various sexual innuendos. Blowing Hodir's horn is now Hodir's call. Mounting Hodir's helm is now placing Hodir's helm. Raising Hodir's spear is now forging Hodir's spear. Thrusting Hodir's spear is how to slay your dragon. Polishing the helm is now a vicious cleaning. Your mutter is so fat is now culling your cutter. The sole NPC change, Your Mutter, has also been renamed Your Cutter in line with the quest above. And that, I think, is a damn shame. Now, a Yo Mama joke, okay. You could... I don't think people would blame you so much for changing that. I am really sad that Your Mother is gone because I just really like that potential joke machine of a name. I don't think any of these quests needed to be changed. They're just dick jokes. They're just sex jokes. You know? Nobody's getting hurt when the Sons of Hodir blow, mount, raise, thrust, or polish anything. As I said, I acknowledge maybe the mean spirit behind a Yo Mama joke, but once again, that's like middle school shit. I think we're all adults that, you know, we can choose not to be offended by something so silly. But I understand that one, at the very least. If an adult made a Yo Mama joke to me, and I didn't know them very well, and they also had a history of harassing women, I would be uncomfortable. So I get that. The rest of them, though, it's a real shame. It really is a shame. We've already talked about Eridath. There are just a bunch of things that were changed to line up with that, such as Matt Parm. All of his quests refer to Eridath rather than Makari. The Purple Hills of Makari is changed to Eridath. Argus ketchup gear. A lot of Argus shit is changed. And once again, Matt Parm and his quests have been changed. Other references and innuendos. Now, a lot of these are references to former employees. We've talked about the Big Love Rocket. The Great Frasiabi. The quest has been renamed the Great Ezra Grimm. You see the difference between the names, right? Like, one of them you felt like could be like an exotic businessman that was like maybe part of a circus or some shit, whereas the Great Ezra Grimm sounds like a Blackrock dwarf kind of name. Opening the back door is now Cell Block Tango. See, I don't know if opening the back door needed to be changed, but I do like the new name better. Going bareback is now barely hanging on. That one's fine, I guess. Got wood is now got lumber. That's a shit change. That's a shit name. Sorry. That one's bad. Just the tip is now a strange disc. Which, like, come on. Again, just a dick joke. Nothing says lovin' like a big stinger is now the respect of another. Boring. Premature explosionation is now exploding through. Incredibly boring. Patrice Lancaster sends word. Lancaster. Sorry, I'm too rural sometimes. Is now the chief surgeon. Sends word. Is that like sexual? I don't get this one. Meet with Avaros Dawnglaive is now follow the sun. What? I don't get either of these. We're going to investigate this. Him? These... These seem like really boring quests. I don't know why they got changed. Weird. Weird. Why would they change that? Unless these two, they must reference real employees. Avaros Dawnglaive is a pretty big stretch, but if they changed it, it's got to mean something, right? I don't agree with all their reasons for changing things, but I mean, usually they have a reason. Camel toe is now camaraderie. See? It's not just dick jokes. It's pussy jokes too. This one's sad. A case of crabs is now crate of crab meat. And the quest dialogue has been changed to go with it. If anyone ever calls your character into question, you be sure to send them my way. I'll tell anyone who'll listen that in my moment of need, you gave me a case of crabs. I think that's hilarious. I think that's so funny. As opposed to, I'll tell anyone who'll listen that you really helped me out in a pinch. That's like a genuine... That ruins the joke. The joke is that you don't want her to say this to people. But she's doing it out of appreciation, so it's funny. Who cares if she says that you helped her out in a pinch? That kills the joke. That's just a bad pun now. Items. Wirt's third leg is now South Sea lamp. Diana's pearl necklace is now Nacreus shell necklace. So this is a dick joke and possibly an employee name. Diana, I assume, is an employee name. The D ring. The C ring. When the C ring just doesn't get the job done. Has been replaced with commemorative K3 expedition ring. Really a shame. Tweedle's Tiny Package is now Tweedle's Tiny Parcel. Case of Crabs is Crate of Crab Meat. Wulai, Bladed Fan of the Consorts, is now Wulai, Bladed Fan of the Empyreans. We've discussed the Consorts. Furore is also here. We can't let Furore be here, so that's a very large bag. Although this bag was only on the original Burning Crusade PTR, but it was renamed. Jacera of Makari is now Matt Parm. We've talked at length about Matt Parm. We are moving on. Charles Etienne has already been renamed Charles Etienne. What? What? That's the same name. Luis Barriga is now Wayneth Antonius. I do like Wayneth as a name. This one's good. Scarlet Lord Jessariah McCree is now Scarlet Lord Borug. This one's a bad replacement. I think maybe like Jebediah or something. Jessariah is a very specific religious vibe as a name. And I think in order to keep that, you would have to do something similar, but obviously not Jessariah. Crafticus Mindbender, the coolest name in the game, is now Thomas Riogane. And that's a damned shame. Jenny McCree is now Yasmina Nerosa, which that's just a better name, honestly. Crafticus Mindbender number 2 is now Magister Langley. What? Wait, you can't even give Thomas here his dues? You just made him 2 separate dudes? Cheng Lish is now Dingley. I don't get that. The damsels by the shore in the cliffs and of the north are now the dwellers. This was part of a quest in Ungoro Crater where the joke was that blood elf dudes are girls because their hair is long. I don't mind that they're getting rid of those quests, I'm going to be honest. What I do mind is that the dweller of the it kind of ruins the quest intent. You're supposed to be rescuing damsels in distress because that's like a stereotypical knight thing to do. Dwellers in distress is not really a thing. So I guess we'll see what the quest text changes to be like that. Spanx is now Nanners. That's a monkey. That's a fine change. I'm into it. Master Bader is now Jiang Zia. Now, actually, Jiang Zia is the subject of a proverb. Grand Duke Jiang goes fishing. A willing person takes the bait, which expresses a uniquely patient method of fishing by hanging a straight hook 3 feet above the water with no bait. Like fish rising to his line, it refers to a victim willfully allowing themselves to be caught in a trap. He's also credited with writing the 6 secret strategic teachings, which is counted alongside Sun Tzu's The Art of War as one of ancient China's 7 military classics. So this is actually just objectively a better name that just respects Asian culture and, honestly, Pandaren culture way more than Master Bader. But come on, guys. Master Bader is a really funny, like, fishing guy name. I want, maybe is not like a major NPC, but just like a guy who just is there. They could have a guy named Masturbator. But again, there's nothing wrong with a little dick joke every now and then, guys. Come on. It's not objectifying any women. It's not hurting anybody. I would love to know the process behind these changes. I really would. And yeah, that's it. Those are all the ones that I can find. So, yeah. To summarize, I respect their right as developers to change things that they're not comfortable with having. If I was working on a project that was, I've inherited from other people, and there were a bunch of jokes like this that I didn't make, that I wasn't really on board with, I would definitely, petition to try and get it changed. I respect that. I would like to know why for some of them, though. And I wish they were a little more thoughtful with what they replaced them with. Because, as I said, it doesn't really feel respectful to the world to just throw in any old unpronounceable name like Borug instead of, giving consideration to the connotations of certain sounding names and how to use those to effectively get across what this character is all about, or what this zone is all about. In Makari's case, Erideth, or in Erideth's case. I don't think it's worth fighting the developers over, however. I see a lot of people being really fucking rude to them about this kind of shit, and it really pisses me off. Because they are working their ass off to try and, make a good game for you, and you're acting like a fucking child. My dick jokes. Fucking unsubscribe then. You piss baby. Christ. Jesus. As much as it pains me, though, there is one thing that the piss babies do get correct, and that without us knowing their rationale and process for changing some of these things, it does set a little bit of a worrying precedent where, something could be changed for no reason, but, the reason could be purely puritanical and not actually in favor of making sure that the game is less sexist. Because I think all of us can agree that sexism is bad, right? But I don't think that includes dick jokes. I don't think a dick joke existing is the same as a sexualized portrait of a woman existing just for one of the game devs to stare at and be like, ha, tits, am I right? I don't think those are the same. I think one of them's just a goofy little joke, and the other one was clearly made with the intent to objectify women. And so, I will say, it's possible that they were made with the intent to objectify women as a means of character building and implied, implied character details about Medivh, but, we all know that they were just made because boobies rock, right? We all know that was the reason. So, yeah. I think in most cases, in all cases, it's their right to change something they're not comfortable with. I don't have to agree with it all the time, and I don't think you should force yourself to agree with it all the time. I think that breeds resentment when you try to, like, completely conform to something that you have questions about. I think it's healthy to ask those questions and be like, where is this coming from? Is this coming from, like, a healthy place of wanting this game to be better? Or is this coming from a place of, like, puritanical fear? I think for a lot of the sex jokes being removed, it might come from a place like that, I fear. And I only fear that because, like I said, anytime something like that gets started, it's always bad for gay people. And I just don't want that ball to get rolling at all. I would prefer to stop it before it gets started, considering their track record in that kind of topic. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about that, just because of, its significance to me as a gay guy. But other than that, I don't really think it's my place to decide what's sexist and what isn't. Like, I have some pretty strong opinions on it, obviously, as I've been telling you for the past, like, hour and a half, but, like, if the overwhelming majority of people say that something's offensive, who the hell am I to tell them that they're wrong, you know? Like, I am a cis male. That's, like, not at all my place. But I don't think I'm wrong in saying that, like, a yo mama joke isn't the end of the world, even if it is a bit crass. I'd love to know what you guys think about all of this. Um, I know not a lot of you play this game, so you don't have full context about how certain aspects of this world fit into, like, the actual in-universe lore, and how much of it is just, shitty pop culture reference. But even so, even if you're just looking at it from the outside on a surface level, I'm really curious to see what your thoughts on all of this are. Because for all I know, I could just be resistant to some of these new names, like Ezra Grimm and shit. I could just be resistant to some of those because they're different and not what I grew up with, So, in cases like that, I'm very curious to see any outside opinion. Or if you do play World of Warcraft, let me know your opinion as well. I just want to talk about this stuff, I think it's very interesting. And if you're a game developer for World of Warcraft, why the fuck are you watching my video? I have like 100 subscribers. Why are you here? But if you are here, DM me. I won't tell them that you broke NDA. I fucking promise. I just want to know so I can, like, defend you if I need to, okay? Because the way they're treating y'all is not right. Okay? I'll keep it on the down low. You won't get in trouble. You won't lose a job. I just need to know why some of these things are happening, because nobody fucking knows and they're filling in the blanks themselves, and that is a very bad idea for World of Warcraft players. You know what I mean? Anyway. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. Kind of a weird video. Kind of a weird video for me, just like scrolling through text and giving hot take opinions on controversial bullshit topics that no normal human cares about. But I thought it was a really interesting thing. Maybe if even more things happen, I'll, add something of like an update to this video. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.